9 of the Maamar Vata Titzave 1981, which was delivered that year, and it was then printed 11 years later. And today, by the way, is a very special day in the Chabad calendar. It's the day when the previous Rebbe came to America, Tes Adar. So the Rebbe, when he spoke about this issue, he said that Chabad Chasidus kind of became, formalized on this day in the lower hemisphere, Chatzi Kader Hatachton. And he spoke about the significance of bringing these teachings to this part of the world, the western part of the world, which takes the lowest element of society, includes the lowest elements of society, and elevates it to the highest of the high. Okay, so we're learning now in the second paragraph of 9, a very, very important and unique type of a paragraph. The paragraph that we're learning now, you won't find elsewhere. And this is where the...
We're on page Lamed Tes, paragraph beginning by Inyan.
The bottom.
This paragraph, the Rebbe talks about those people that they're on a high horse. And they're on a high horse because they learn, they daven, and they do mitzvahs, and they're really, scoring brownie points. So the Rebbe says, but you forgot one thing, the Beis HaMikdash is not built. And as long as the Beis HaMikdash is not built, Hillel, you weren't here yesterday, but he quotes a Chazal, which the Chazal say it's in the brackets, about the 4 or 5 lines to the top of the second paragraph, where the Chazal say, whoever didn't merit to have the Beis HaMikdash built during their days, during their lifetime, it's as though it's been re-destroyed during their lifetime. Not that it was destroyed 2,000 years ago by the Romans, but actually you have witnessed the destruction. You'll say, what do you mean I witnessed the destruction? I didn't. The Kaisel was standing there 2,000 years. Yes, but you obviously didn't do anything to have it rebuilt. Yeah, and the message is a very powerful message from that Chazal, that every single Jew has within their capability to restore the Binyan Beis HaMikdash. So let's continue now after the brackets. This itself doesn't bring him to be more depressed, right? If we think about the Chazal's saying, you become more depressed and morbid, says the Rebbe. No, because that itself shatters your inside, where you get frustrated. You say, so what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? Cry, you'll cry when you say Krishma Shalmita at night before you go to sleep. That's when you will cry and do tshuva. It's all right. You guys have the place, yes? This itself...
No. We don't have the place.
Not in the same line as us, though. We're in a different...
We got thrown off by what you said after the bracket.
Okay, but are you in the right paragraph where it starts with Inyan Hu?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Israel, right?
Yeah, isn't there...
You started from Hinem Atzmo?
Yes.
Okay, fine. I have it. It's the second to last line, last
he's at the bottom. Okay.
This thought itself, that seems to be only a depressing thought, says the Rebbe, it's the bounce back for growth. In ganzen zu tresel, kosses, he becomes smashed, he becomes grinded, and that itself causes him to say, so what am I going to do about it? And that's a very important lesson in all aspects. When we hear news that is not good, when we feel no good, remember, it's true, you don't feel good now, and the news isn't good. But what counts most is, so what am I going to do about it? And that thought itself, what am I going to do about it, is the springboard for growth. So the Rebbe says, you are to use the cusses, you are to use the difficulty, the smashing and the banging and all that for growth. Even someone who is on a very high level, where godliness illuminates their life. Similar to the revelation that there was in the world when the Beis Hamikdash stood. So you imagine you have someone who's such a holy person that the person feels, experiences the Beis Hamikdash. Wow, that's a high level. Mikol Mokum, says the Rebbe. Nevertheless, is meir hagilui, ein meir hagilui. That person has to make the following account. Sholem, the fact that the world at large doesn't experience the revelation, muchach, that proves shegam hagilui oy shemeir etzloi hu gilui mugbal. That what I do have, what I personally have, where it's illuminated, it's only a limited illumination. The Shemei Giloi Nisof Habli Gvul Hagili Hu B'chol Mokim. When there is a revelation of godliness that's infinite, it's all over. In other words, if it's true infinity, Boaz, if it's true infinity, if one thinks I have the infinity of God in my life shining and illuminating, says the Rebbe, you have it wrong. Because if it were to be real infinity, it would be all over, including in the dumpster, including in the antagonistic places to God. Right? With the famous story with the
evidence everyone.
As the famous story of the Apta Rebbe, who I believe is the Apta Rebbe, who was looking out the window, and he turns around to his son, he says, I sniff Mashiach, I smell Mashiach. So his son says, Father, that's wonderful, but why do you have to stand at the window and sniff the outside to smell Mashiach? Why can't you be inside your room with a closed window? And if you're on the level that you can actually smell Mashiach, you should be able to smell Mashiach from inside your room. So the father said to the son, Moshe, he said like this, that inside my room, I know Mashiach is here. The question is whether Mashiach is here for everyone else outside. And what we're learning now is a kvetch, a nuance on the story. I would say it this way. The fact that I don't smell Mashiach outside is proof that even inside it's not the real Mashiach. Because a Mashiach that is only your personal Mashiach is not the real Mashiach. It's a very nice patch and a very comfortable, experience. But that's not Mashiachism. That's not real Geula. Real Geula is, Shalom, that the outside world, Manchester in England and the Eiffel Tower and all over, as soon as you go there, you see Mashiach, you feel Mashiach. And if you don't, then even in Yerushalayim, you don't have Mashiach. Whether one has the Jerusalem syndrome, he doesn't have Jerusalem syndrome, whether one is standing right at the Kosel, or one who believes he can go into the Temple Mount as the rabbi and some people in the synagogue. I don't care what your belief is. The fact is that if outside of Manhattan, on Wall Street and on Madison Avenue, you don't feel and see Mashiach, then the Mashiach that you think you have in Yerushalayim isn't the real Mashiach. It's just a figment of your imagination, or it's a limited experience. Okay, it's inspirational, but it's not the real thing. And this is what Chasidus wants of us. Chasidus wants of us to not suffice with a personal Mashiach, with a personal experience. It's wonderful, fine. Of course, in order to inspire others, you need to be inspired. But don't forget, if your inspiration is based on your inspiration, and you don't think about the inspiration of others, then your inspiration is limited. That's what we learned here in a nutshell. Let's continue. No, I don't want to take quite. I want to run further. Give me some time. Give me some time. Got to cover some ground, please. He says, And when there is one place, afilu pin nidachas, even a distant corner, look in the parentheses, guys, afilu pin nidachas. You're in New Mexico, you're in Wyoming, you're out in Antarctica, you're in a pina nidachas, right? Who's gonna go? Right, the word nidachas means it's dispersed. It's anti-Judaism, it's anti-God. It's a pina, it's a little corner. She'ein meir sham gilui elikus. Godliness is not apparent. You don't have people walking around with tzitzis and payas and yarmulkes and talis and tefillin. Rather, you have Eskimos, or you have beasts, or you have animals, or you have nevelas, terrible people. It's the reason why they're not inspired is because of you. And I heard a story recently that the Rebbe sent out a rabbi in 1960 to Buffalo, New York, to be a rabbi there, and he became a rabbi of a shul. And after 2-3 weeks, he noticed very quickly that the president of a shul and the vice president pulled up to the shul with a car or parked a block away, and they were big mockers in shul. And this rabbi was very frum, of course, and it ate him up. But the real problem is that they wanted aliyahs. And he said to himself, how can I give them aliyah? They're machal Shabbos b'farhesia. They publicly desecrate Shabbos. He didn't know what to do. He called Rabbi Chadakov, the Rebbe's secretary. Rabbi Chadakov said, I'll get back to you. And he got back to him, and he said that the Rebbe said, Rabbi Chadakov discussed it, the Rebbe said, when a Jew comes into shul, the Jew is sitting in a shul. He's not a machal Shabbos. At this point, is he machal Shabbos? No, he's sitting in shul. Now, wait. Now, the Rebbe said, the fact that he has a baitel means a wallet, or keys, whatever. So you assume that it's Chilul Shabbos. The Rebbe said, your assumption is wrong. Because it wasn't the keys, actually. It was the baitel that he had, a wallet. He's allowed to have a wallet. A wallet is not, okay, you can argue the Rabban and Muktzah, but the point is, that doesn't make him a Machal Shabbos B'farhesia if he's sitting in shul. And the Rebbe said, what's the issue? What's really the issue? The issue is, and the Rebbe said this to Rabbi Chadakov, tell the shliach, tell the rabbi, you are lazy to give a fiery speech that would turn the person around from being a Machal Shabbos, from not driving to shul from driving to shul to not driving to shul. So it's your issue, because you don't have the fiery speech because you're lazy. That's the Rebbe said, and I know the person the Rebbe is talking about, and I know the whole situation. And it's 1960. It's not now. It's 60 years ago, right? The point being, this is the same point that the Rebbe says over here in the Maamar. You go and it's so easy to put the blame on others. If you put the blame on others, you're guilty because you have not. And here it is. Like this rabbi, what do you mean? He the shul is open. He's teaching, right? He makes it available. What should he do? He doesn't want to go and say you can't come to shul. He doesn't want to say you can't have an aliyah, but he feels bound by halacha. So the Rebbe says halachically, I'm not sure you're not allowed because right now he's a Shema Shabbos. You judge him on what he is right now, not the way he was before. In other words, you believe in him. You understand? You believe in him. You believe in him at this moment. But you say, wait, but he came here by car. That was before, not now. Now, what are you concerned? He might go back into his car. So therefore, what are you doing? What are you doing about it? Change the situation. You shouldn't want to go back into the car. And this is the way, when I was in Marin County and had a Chabad house, I got a ruling in the name of Rabbi Dvorkin, who was the rabbi for the UCLA Chabad house, the first Chabad house in 1966, 67, those years. He ruled that you're allowed to invite someone Friday night for Shabbos, before Shabbos, as long as you give them a place to stay. You offer them, and you really do have a bed for them set up. It's not a made-up story. And I used to, people came, I had them come before Shabbos. And then when we finished the meal, I said, listen, I have a nice bed, and we'll hang out, and it'll be nice, and I'd like you to stay. And if they said no, they said no. Well, I can't stop them. Shabbos day, I didn't invite them, unless they were within walking distance. And I had someone who actually jogged to shul 8 miles. He would jog from Novato to San Rafael, change from his sweatsuit into Shabbos pants, and then he davened with us. So I spoke to Rabbi Schusterman, the Rav in L.A., and he said, look, I wouldn't think that 8 miles is for the average person to walk, but the law is, he says, if the person is within walking distance, and even if it's a long walk and they could walk it, then you're allowed to invite them for Shabbos even during the day. But now there are different opinions on this, so you go to your local Rav, let him paskin for you, so don't say that Rabbi Dalfin said this and this must be the halacha. Different Rabbanim have different piskei dinim. I'm sharing with you what I, as on in a Chabad house situation, what the psak that I got and what we did. But the point is that you have to take the responsibility, and that's the hardest thing. Is we don't want to take responsibility, and we shrug it off. It's Yenim's problem. It's the other guy's problem. So that's what we're learning here. That if there isn't godliness in a pina nidachas, in a lost, far away, antagonistic corner, and there isn't godliness there, it shows that your godliness in your corner and in your home and in your community is limited. Let's continue. Now comes another brackets, and it's a one of a kind, so I want you to listen to this. The Rebbe says this is what we find in a discourse of the Alter Rebbe. The Isa b'Tikkunim. The Alter Rebbe says that we find in Tikkunim. Tikkunim is like, old writings. Shafilu im hoyetzadik echad. Even if there were just, 1 second, give me a second, please. Even if there were, you don't have the place?
No, I have. I thought the Tikkunim always meant the Tikkun Zohar.
If it always means that, it could be. I have to check. I don't know if it always means that. So it says in Tikkunim.
It says Zohar Chadash.
I know what the footnote says. It doesn't yet mean that Tikkunim always means Tikkunim. It usually means that. Let's continue.
I may be wrong. That's just the way I always read it.
He said, "B'Tikkunim shafilu im hoyet tzadik echad choyze b'tshuva shleima." Even if there were just one tzaddik who would return, chozer b'tshuva shleima, he would do a complete tshuva. Hoyeba Mashiach would have already come. Ki ayidei tshuva shleima, through tshuva shleima, through complete tshuva, mamshichin gilu ein sof abli gvul, we draw down the infinity of God. V'gilu zeh, and at that type of revelation, who bechol makom, is all over. You hear what the Alter Rebbe says in the name of Tikkunim? That the fact that Mashiach is not here is proof that there has not yet been one tzaddik that has done complete tshuva. Don't ask me. You all understand English and Hebrew, and this is what we just read. The point being, don't be this holy roller thinking that I'm so great, because it says in Tikkunim, even a tzaddik, and it says there, tzaddik echad, even if there just were one tzaddik, needless to say, many tzaddikim, if one tzaddik were to do tshuva shleima, Mashiach would come. Let's continue. And the fact that the essence of God's infinity is not in the world, who nishbe v'nitke, this shatters and crushes him. Kasis. And as is known, shechoila begematria memtes. If you take the letters ches vav lamed hey, which means sick, someone who's ill, its gematria, its numerical equivalent is 49. Shegam kishemasik memtes sharibina, which means even if you understand the 49 gates of understanding, which is a high level of godliness as explained in the Kabbalah, there's only one thing that's missing, Yoni. He doesn't have the 50th gate. It's called the Shara Nun. Hu chole. He's sick. You're sick. Why? Because you're missing the 50th gate. But the 50th gate is Shavuos. There's 49 days between Pesach and Shavuos. The 50th gate is out of my reach. No, it ain't. It's not out of your reach. Because if you did complete Shuvah during those 49 days, the 50th gate would come automatically. It would come automatically. And so, of course, you're not at the 50th gate, but you are at the 49. The fact that the 50th gate wasn't opened is proof something's lacking in your 49 steps. One second, let me finish. It's known with the Tzemach Tzedek. Yoni, you're a fan of the Tzemach Tzedek? Listen to the Tzemach Tzedek's word.
Oh yeah, my favorite.
It's a favorite because his grandfather had a shofar of the Tzemach Tzedek. The Tzemach Tzedek said, I heard from our teacher, our Rebbe, Admur Azokin, right, the Alter Rebbe, right? The Tzemach Tzedek was the grandson of the Alter Rebbe. So the Tzemach Tzedek said, I would hear kind of constantly my grandfather saying the following, and it's in Yiddish, and we'll translate. Ich will ze gar nicht. I don't want anything. Ich will nicht dein Gan Eden. I don't want your paradise. Ich will nicht dein Olam Haba. I don't want your world to come, Olam Haba. Chuli, etc. Rather, ich will mehr nicht as dich allein. Rather, I only just want you yourself. You, and you. That's the saying of the Alter Rebbe repeated to us by the Tzemach Tzedek in his holy sefer called Derech Mitzvah. Now the Rebbe is saying, our Rebbe, the fact that my great-grandfather, the Tzemach Tzedek, heard this from the Alter Rebbe. Now look at the next bracket, it's beautiful. The Pirush, Hoya Nishma. You see the word Hoya is in italics.
Right.
Why? The fact that it says he heard Hoya, it means he constantly heard. Hu shazehu leirak bizmanim yuchadim, ela shazehu Hoya davar haragil. It means that it's not that he heard it once in a blue moon. It means that he constantly heard the Tzemach Tzedek say the previous mentioned phrase in Yiddish. Ubefrat, lachash is parsam zaydei Tzemach Tzedek, and the Rebbe says, especially after the Tzemach Tzedek publicized what his grandfather usually said by putting it into a Maamar Chasidus, and then it was printed, that nitan hakoach l'kol echad v'echad b'Yisrael, that gives this koyach to every single Jew, she'ikar etzoyne yeh giluy atzmos, that every single Jew's true ratzon, true will should be you. I want you, nothing less than you, which we call giluy ha'atzmos, Boaz, the revelation of the essence. And so much so is this true, that if this revelation of you is not apparent, and needless to say, the time of Golus, forget about you. That we don't have you now is understood. But we don't even have any revealed godliness. It's dark and dingy and dusty and stinky. Who b'matziv the kosses, that shatters you. You're totally shattered. You wake up in the morning, you said, I thought today is going to be a better day. And it obviously is going to be a better day. But where are you, God? It's back to the same routine. Put on your pants. Wash your hands. Get up. Do stretches, go to the mikveh, wash your beard, go to shul, answer Amen, come home, eat, go to Kollel, hear Rabbi Dalfin make himself crazy, and on and on.
I
right?
think cussing is a condition of people who have to take a morning commute on the subway.
Yeah, right.
Now.
So,
Especially now.
so this is cusses. This is a cusses situation. But nevertheless, what does that cusses say? I'm sick and tired of this. I want to feel fresh. And you continue asking 3 times a day. 3 times a day or more so. May our eyes see the return of Zion with mercy, that Mashiach should come, Beis HaMikdash be rebuilt, then there'll be a revelation of godliness. And number 2, was till there'll be the you revelation, as we said earlier. Vizel kosis lamor. Remember, we asked the question, Hillel, why does it say kosis lamor and not kosis laor? So he says, because you're looking for God Himself. Atzmos, you, that's the more. You're not satisfied with the fascination, the riches, right? The king goes to his palace, the deputies are walking back. One guy gets lost in the room of art, the other guy in the room of jewelry and gold, the third guy in the room of trophies. And at the end of the day, they're all not behind the king when he opens the door to go to his chamber. There's only one person. The Medrash calls him Pikach. He's a smart, shrewd guy. He's so smart, he didn't allow all the fascinations on the room, on the long corridor going down to the chamber to catch him and draw him in. Why? Because that's not you. That's a fascination, and a wonderful one. But it's not the essence. Don't lose the plot. The plot is Mashiach. The plot is Beis HaMikdash. The plot is not just sitting and learning another plot Gemara or another Maamar Chasidus. We've had people until now learn plenty Gemara and plenty Chasidus. We do that as a way to bring the Mashiach, to bring the Beis HaMikdash. That's what it says. To bring Gilu Elikus. And what Gilu Elikus? Not just any ordinary revelation of God, but the Ich will dich allein. I want you yourself, you. And he says, Shal Yedeo inyan de kosish mizeh shlimtsoyim begolus. Because of our sensation that we recognize we're in a situation of kosses smushed and shmuttered and smashed, we reach Ma'or, the source of light. The fact that every Jew intrinsically, inherently, wants godly revelation, until it touches his essence. It's not just the outer part of them that wants God, but it's the inner core. That's why it's like you didn't eat, you didn't sleep, you're deprived. It's you. It's the real you who's missing the godliness and wants the godliness. It's coming from your essential soul. What we call the source of your soul, who is kashus atzmis. The connection with God on that level is an essential connection. So this paragraph was the paragraph in which the Rebbe opens up for us, based on Chazal and based on Tikkunim. The idea where someone will challenge you, say, what do I need Mashiach for? I have Mashiach. I'm sitting in Yeshiva, I'm sitting in Kol, I'm sitting in Yerushalayim. Right. You have to go. Any question? Now ask your questions, whoever wanted to ask.
Okay, Rabbi, when you're saying you, right?
Yes.
You're referring to Hashem and the person Neshama?
We're talking about to Hashem. That the person says, I want just you, God. Your pure godliness. Nothing, no dilution of your godliness.
Right. So somebody's, what he's referring to here in the beginning, he says he's not talking about Olam Haba, he's not talking about Olam Haba, he's only talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? So I'm saying today.
These are all rewards.
Yeah.
Right? So
but today, there's this very big, there's a lacking in that people are doing things, if they're not getting reward in this world, they want to get reward in the next world. Meaning the selflessness is not imbued in the frum communities, the chalal. I mean, this concept is like unbelievable because you see people either if they want something for parnasa, for money, or for kavod, or if it's not in this one, say, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'll have the name put on the Aron Kaidish, and this way I'll have Gan Eden and this stuff. So I'm saying, like, why isn't this concept more mainstream rather than
because people don't learn Chasidus. That's why this concept to an average Lubavitcher boy and girl who studied in the yeshivas is bread and butter. It's natural. I'm telling you. Ask a little boy, 11 years old, or a little girl. I remember I was in Yerushalayim in Rechavia or somewhere at a Shabbos table, about 5 to 10 years ago. And there were older seminary girls. There were seminary girls there. One of them was, I think, a sister of a classmate of one of my daughters. And so I asked her, so what are you learning about? So she says, we're learning, and she tells me, and then she says, and they're teaching us that you do mitzvahs, you get a reward in Olam Haba, just like you said.
Right.
And I said, and they don't teach you that the mitzvah itself, without the reward, is the essence, is the product? No. And this is not in a modern Orthodox. This is actually it was a little shtickle modern. The point is that the Chasidus of the Baal Shem Tov. This is you see how the Baal Shem Tov. Forget about Lubavitch, forget about Chabad. Talking about Baal Shem Tov, Chasidus, Breslev, Belz, Boviv. It makes no difference. Anyone that learns and understands the principles of Hasidism, okay. We're not talking about someone who just, does it, but understands. What the principles is this is another basic teaching of the Baal Shem Tov and Chasidus, is that a mitzvah in its own right is the connection, without a reward. And that to worry about a reward is, like you say, it's selfish and a waste of time. And if you're doing it because of the reward, you're in big trouble, because as soon as you don't see the reward or you don't believe in the reward, you stop doing it. In other words, when you put on tefillin, it says, and you get L'man Yarichu Yamecha and Kibud Aveim and different mitzvahs, of course it says so in the Torah. There's no question. Hashem said so, it's true. But that's not the reason you do it. Hashem is saying that when you will do it, there's also a reward for you. But not that should be the reason for you doing it. So the answer, there's nothing really to dialogue about. It's very simple. It's because they don't learn and want to be open to learning the tenets of the Baal Shem Tov, which, by the way, the Baal Shem Tov didn't come and create a new Torah, God forbid. Yoshka did that. That's why he's rejected. The Baal Shem Tov revealed within the Torah what the Torah means. So if someone says to you, well, the Baal Shem Tov came along and made new ideas. No, he didn't make new ideas. He showed how the existing ideas of Torah mean A, B, and C. Like I just gave you an example. That sure it says in the Torah that you'll be rewarded for respecting your parents. But there are two ways of looking at that. One way is, I do it for the reward. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. Like you said, if I don't have it good here, at least in the world to come. You put it very well. Well, I'm saying that attitude is very selfish and very dangerous. And I said it yesterday and I repeat it, that if it doesn't hit you, it hits your kids. If it doesn't hit your kids, it's going to hit your grandkids. There's no way that there's not going to be backlash from that type of an attitude. Versus doing a mitzvah lishma, because I love Hashem and I know this has God. If this has God, I want it. Why? Because I'm a part of God. Now, to understand what it means I'm part of God, Perek Beis and Tanya, Nefesh Elokis, Chelek Elokami Mal Mamish. So if we were to learn and teach inside or orally children these ideas, which they do, by the way, in Chabad schools and in Chabad families, with books, and today with the internet, in so many different ways, the boy and girl, as they grow, this concept is not a novelty to them. This concept is who they are, So that's the answer. There's nothing that, and yes, you're right. Not just the Litvish yeshivas, but mainstream orthodoxy and modern orthodoxy. But there's been an improvement in all these places. I could tell you that from research and writing about it. There's more of an openness, but we still have a long way to go. I was sitting in Bet Shemesh. I don't want to say with who, because some of you know the family. I was invited for Shabbos. And the father, who really likes Chabad, and he learns the Rebbe Sichos, and he's a real Talmud Chacham, fine person. Anyway, so he had his kids home. One of the kids learns in a Yerushalayim Litvish yeshiva, one of the popular Litvish yeshivas. And, he knows his father likes Chabad. He knows his grandfather likes Chabad, and not just like Chabad culturally. His father learns Chabad Chasidus. His father learns the Rebbe Sichos. Seriously, you're not talking about someone who just waves a flag or sings a song. Someone who really knows the text, like we're learning the text, And it was foreign to him. And I offered to come to the yeshiva to talk about these different things. He said he doesn't mind, but he couldn't get his friends to get excited, so it never happened. At the end of the day, and this is why I say again and again, and and by the way, I sometimes I say things I don't mean you personally. Okay, I talk about the idea. If the hat fits, you could put it on. You don't want to put it on, don't put it on. So, if you want your children and grandchildren to have this, you have to at some point send them earlier than later to a Chabad school. That's it, to a Hasidic school, but particular Chabad school. Then, usually, they will walk away with these feelings towards themselves and others. Otherwise, they won't. They're good people, and they'll build good Jewish homes. You think about it, you say, what's the difference who my kids or grandkids are going to marry? I think about this. Like, they're from Jews, they're right, they keep the Torah, they love Hashem. The answer is this discussion. That's the difference. And if it's important to you, then you know what to do. In Borough Park, in our shul, we have a very prominent Lubavitcher, Talmud Chacham, a real prominent, comes from Russia. His boys, he lives in Borough Park. Lubavitch Yeshiva is in Ocean Parkway, right? Yoni knows, very close, between H and I. It's like 10-minute walk. So his boys, he sent to Lubavitch Yeshiva. But his girls, because his wife is not really Lubavitch, she sent them to the local Beis Yaakov. And the most popular Beis Yaakov. And a real from Beis Yaakov. No problem. In Borough Park. Yeah, in Borough Park on 46th Street and 14th Avenue. Yeah. Okay, great. It came time to marry. All the girls did not want to have a guy who had a beard. They didn't want to have a guy who had a beard. The boys all married Lubavitcher girls. That's it. He and his wife made their own bed, and he can say not, and he can, because he tries to deny. And in fact, one of my nephews was looking for a shidduch, and he, reached out to me and was kind of nudging me. He was so happy that maybe one of his daughters will finally marry a Lubavitcher boy who was a Talmud Chacham, because he wanted only Talmid Chachamim. So pretty much all of his girls took Lakewood guys, because they were Talmid, they were so-called Talmid Chachamim. So when he heard about my nephew who was a massive Talmud Chacham, and he's a Lubavitcher, he was like, guess what? My nephew didn't want her. and no, he didn't even meet her. Why did he want her? Because he wanted a Lubavitcher girl from Beis Rivka, not from Beis Yaakov. So that's the culture in today. Everyone picks my group. That's another discussion. But all I'm saying is that, and the same is also, with the kids growing up in Eretz Yisrael, the boys and the girls in the army. Well, you could pretty much say that some of the kids are going to go to the army, or more than some of the kids. Fine. The question is, who and what are they going to be in the army? And will they have the strength to live as a Yid in the army? And that's the issue. So we need to build them and give them opportunities that when they will go out and they'll be on the front and they'll be in the army and all that, they should be like a real from Yid, a real committed Yid. They should love Hashem and they should, you know what I'm saying? So when you learn Chasidus, and by the way, such a paragraph you can learn with your children. You can learn Yoni with your girls that are, 11, 12, whatever, 13. You can learn with them. This is not a difficult paragraph. And you can have a great discussion on this paragraph with your kids. And so you choose, that's why I've been learning the previous Rebbe's Maamorim, if you're wondering, because most of this Maamorim is more of a difficult one. This happens to be a more, avoda halev type of a paragraph. But I choose these discourses where you can actually talk to your children about some of these ideas when it comes to the Shabbos table or the dinner table. And then, they hopefully will have an inkling to this type of learning. I would hope, is there in Bet Shemesh a youth club that Chabad provides for boys and girls where they have, get-togethers and events? Is there such a thing, Moshe?
A little bit. You have a little bit through their school. That they do like bus.
Bus Ilagani?
No. It's Bat Melech.
Oh, Basmela. Yeah.
Basmela. Yeah.
For the girls, the boys have Tzivat Hashem a little bit. They do things.
So but for teenagers it would be, there's children. There's for teenagers. For Israelis, I think they have. For Anglos, it's very, very important. That age, 13, 14 till 17, 18 is very important to what?
It's not Anglo, I said.
There's
it's Israeli, but that doesn't matter. They get good stuff from it.
There's a shliach in a place called the Chusha. It's not far from here. It's about 10-minute drive in the Chusha. So my friends are friends with their kids. He's the Mashiachist, but the kids do all these kinds of miftzayim where they get all the kids from the Chusha. And so my daughter goes to the Chusha, and they give out candles on Friday, and they take challah.
That's great. That's very good. Yeah, it's very good. And the Mashiachism part, you don't have to. You know what I'm saying? Don't make an issue out of it. If they ask you, you talk to them about it. But don't make an issue out of it. You make an issue, it's a problem. But it would also be good if they you know what I'm saying? You learn and have a. What you're saying, the miftzayim, that's very important and very good, and it, in a way, maybe it's not the best thing, but also a learning to be able to dialogue, because as the kids grow, their head starts thinking, and it starts working, and so it's very important to have intellectual dialogue and discussion. So I encourage all of you. It's Tes Adar, and it's Erev Shabbos tomorrow, and Shabbos Zohar, as the famous saying in Chabad goes. Zochar es asher asa lecha Amalek. Remember what Amalek did to you. Timcha zecher Amalek. Erase, and we have two ways: with a tzerei zecher, or with a segel zecher. That's why the Balkor repeats it twice. So one of the Hasidim would say, "Abi." Abi is a Yiddish word. Abi gut upmekin. Regardless if it's zecher with a tzerei or zecher with a segel, one thing is for sure. Erase him very well. Abi gut upmecken. Gut means good. Upmecken means to erase. So we should erase in ourselves doubts. Doubts schleps us down. This is the Shabbos to focus on erasing doubts. Make that your thought. Talk about it with your children, with your wife, with your family, with your friends. What doubts do we have? How are we going to get rid of the doubts? Doubts is unproductive. That's number one. And number two, as we learn here, the yearning for Mashiach and Beis HaMikdash in a real way. It's nice to say I'm going to bring a lamb Erev Pesach on the Beis Temple Mount. Okay, if but You're going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And most Jews aren't going to do it. So it's your personal Mashiach. We want collective Mashiach. So to talk about why we need to yearn and learn and strive and include all Yidden, even if they're so far, like I just told you, there's some stories earlier, that they're, in a sense, like Yoni said a few weeks ago, Jew haters. Outwardly, they're Jew haters. Yeah, they are. But inside Yoni, they have a neshama. No one can take away their soul. No one. And even though they'll get punishments, and it says in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, and in the Mishnah it says about those who have a portion of the world to come and those who don't, but that's the world to come. What did we learn today, Moshe? There's something greater than the world to come. There's the mitzvah itself. So yeah, the world to come, they're not going to get a piece of honey cake. But if you connect them to the essence, to you, to Hashem himself, Hashem will figure out the score. Hashem will figure out a way how to make them happy. Everyone, have a great day and a great Erev Shabbos. We'll talk to you this Sunday.